Today, I'm with Jack Lifton, world-renowned critical minerals expert. Jack, there's a lot of rumors out there about Greenland, and you have been a leader in dispelling the myths. Number one, are there a lot of untapped critical mineral reserves, as BBC was quoted, in Greenland? Yes or no?
I would say no, because when you say reserves, you're talking about things that we can economically and efficiently recover. I don't think that that's the case in Greenland.
Excellent. Thank you for that and clearing that up. Also, of course, Trump has now gone back to his favorite topic, which is bringing up Canada. Canada, as we both have identified repeatedly, is one of the best places in the world for critical minerals. Can you give Trump's team some advice on how they should proceed with Canada, please?
Yes, I think that the current administration in Washington needs to hurry up because today in Davos, the head of the EU said that she needs Europe to be independent of the rest of the world on critical mineral sourcing and processing. And of course, Americans don't listen to what the people in the EU are saying, but I believe Canadians do, especially the Prime Minister. So I think that Canada is already engaging with Europe and the EU, and I think that Canada's vast resources of critical minerals are going to go to the highest and friendliest bidder. And I think, in my opinion, that's going to be, first of all, the European Union and the UK. And second, some people in Asia that maybe the United States is not so friendly with.
I think one of the consistent themes we keep seeing is for all of us just to calm down. Trump is posturing, is what we keep getting told. He's posturing to negotiate, perhaps. Okay. Not a process I'm familiar with. Terrorize your opponent until they give you what they want. However, could this be true? And, is it correct that there are a large number of Americans that find this particular negotiation tactic positive?
Oh, I think so. I think that a lot of people think that this must be the way that the President of the United States has successfully had his construction career. He's built a lot of hotels, casinos, and golf courses, and he seems to be a really good negotiator. But what they're not paying attention to is that his expertise does not extend to natural resources. And that's the problem here. It's the world of critical resources is a different world from building golf courses. And I don't think it's going to work out.
The Middle East. Is it possible, perhaps, that we all know that Trump is partnering with the Middle East in a number of business ventures? I see he's building a golf course in Riyadh and a mansion cul-de-sac. Excellent security, apparently. Can you tell me if it's possible that he's targeting some of these new destinations or target locations to secure critical minerals for the Middle East?
No, I'll tell you what I think is happening. I think that there's sort of a classic meme in investment, and it's called "Your Money and My Brains." I believe this is what he's trying to pull on the Middle Easterners. They have a lot of money. They don't seem to have any real understanding of the critical mineral space. So I think what he's trying to do is just get money out of, I don't want to use a negative term, but I think that the Middle Easterners are really suckers.
Well, of course, everything, the truth comes out in time. So let's go back to Greenland for just a minute. We have received an onslaught of media inquiries asking us to basically go online or go in interviews and confirm that Trump is going after Greenland for their critical minerals. And you were in an interview recently, and I loved your quote that you could take all the rare earth experts in the world outside of China and stick them on one bus. Is that correct? And can you confirm that my understanding of your quote was correct?
Well, yeah, I think it might have to be a double-decker bus, but nothing larger than that. And what I think here is that the understanding of what critical minerals and rare earths are and how they become useful to our society is lacking in many, many people at very high levels. And all they're assuming that they're just negotiating to buy a commodity. These are not commodities, and this is going to come back and bite them, you know where.
We're doing some myth busting here today. One of the producers I spoke to from a large television network earlier today said to me, "But Tracy, the Chinese control and have all the rare earths." And I said, "No, that's incorrect. They process all the rare earths." Would you confirm that my understanding is correct or correct me?
Well, yeah, China as a nation seems to have about 40% of the known uh, reserves, let's say, of rare earths. But that means that the rest of the world has 60%. And you're exactly correct. What the Chinese have done for the last 25 years is purposely built a complete uh, supply chain system in their own country. They have a total rare earth products supply chain. They don't have all the rare earths. They have the overwhelming majority of the downstream supply chain. That's the problem. And that's what we've got to concentrate on. We keep talking about deposits and mines, and we're missing the point. What do you do with the stuff after you raise it out of the mine? That's what we need to understand. The choke points are not the mines, it's the downstream processing. That's the problem, the lack of.
So one of our audience members said to me, "Tracy, what about AI? We need to build rare earth processing facilities in Greenland." And then I quoted you again and I said, "But they don't have the infrastructure." I didn't even get into the human capital, but I was just dealing with the infrastructure. Conan O'Brien, I don't know if you saw it, did a lovely series of interviews in Greenland this last week. And for instance, he was in Jupe and he pointed out only two stoplights. Um, and then he also pointed out in one interview with one young gentleman that most of the transport is not from highway to highway. There's not major highway networks in Greenland. So building a processing facility, even one in Greenland, would be quite the challenge. Would you not agree?
Oh, yes. Not only does the infrastructure not exist, the people to manufacture the infrastructure don't exist. And so the costs here would be enormous. Maybe I'm going to just estimate 10 times what it would cost to complete the necessary infrastructure in the Canadian province of Quebec to get at the best undeveloped rare earth deposit yet known in this part of the world.
One broadcaster who was very frustrated with my answers because I wasn't giving her what she wanted to hear. And she said, "But if we can be producing these rare earths in 10 years, would it not be worth it?" Would you like to answer that for her?
If I understand that this is an urgent necessity, 10 years, the, the, the problem with 10 years is that it means 2.5 presidential administrations, perhaps different parties switching between the houses of Congress and the Senate in the United States, total chaotic approach to financing. Well, how does that benefit anybody? What we need here is for private capital to figure out how they can make money doing these things. And let me warn the public, if private equity that not only has a lot of money, but understands how to use it in the best way, the most profitable way, is not jumping into this arena, it means this arena is dangerous. It's not easy to make money here. I'll tell you what's very easy, Tracy. for the U.S. government to lose our money, our taxpayer money. It's the easiest thing in the world. Making money and creating supply chains is a real challenge. It's best left to the private sector.
On that note, the message I have been communicating consistently over the last couple of weeks is our money is better invested in projects that are much more advanced in Canada, Australia, Brazil, and the United States. Now, put them in the order of which countries are most important for rare earth downstream moving forward.
That's easy. It's Canada, because Canada has more known rare earth deposits than any other country with which I'm familiar. And I can't include China. Okay. Australia has some good rare earth deposits, but it's a huge country with very little infrastructure, very few people, and not enough potable water. Canada has all of that. Canada needs targeted investment. And the difference between Canada and the United States, in my opinion, the Canadian federal government could help by focusing its capital on the right projects. It has so many projects to choose from. That's the real problem. It needs expert advice, unlike the United States, which has very few domestic projects to choose from and a whole lot of inexpert opinion to guide it.
As an expert, can you provide one piece of expert advice for the US government and for Donald Trump's group?
Focus on Canada as a source of critical materials and minerals. Canada has everything we need. It needs capital, and it needs organization of its people, the specialized people to do these things. And that should be the focus of the United States. It's so easy. It's so close. It's so friendly for now. Okay. And here's my warning. We're going to lose Canada because Canada is going to go with Europe, and Europe is not concerned, obviously, about the best interest of the United States. And Canada needs to survive. It needs to grow. So it's looking to, for example, to Asia, perhaps to people the United States wouldn't look at. And I think that that's a brilliant move by the Canadian government, because if things don't work out with the United States or Europe, Canada can still make money exporting its extremely valuable critical minerals and fuels.
We're still having some leftover questions about Venezuela since the activities of last week. Venezuelan critical minerals. Would you like to add anything, or have you discovered something new about Venezuelan critical minerals since we spoke last?
No, there's nothing new about Venezuela. I think the chairman of one of the world's major oil companies said it exactly right. He said, Venezuela is uninvestable. I don't know how to top that.
Mark Carney today, Prime Minister from Canada, said that we have entered a new world order and you're either at the table or you're on the menu. That's a loose translation. Do you have anything you'd like to add? Do you agree with that conclusion? Or can we go back to the way it was a few months ago before Greenland became the #1 objective for Donald Trump?
As a recent book pointed out, the world has fractured. It is now going into two camps. One is where America is the giant consumer and source of capital, and the other one is where it's China. Okay, Canada, you would think, has an obvious choice, right? They should join that country with which they have a contiguous border. But for some reason, Americans don't see the value of Canada. And what I think is that this can only go on so long, and Canada is going to go on its own way. And I don't think it's a matter of survival for Canada. I think it's a matter of growth, economic growth. And some of us in America do understand that the Prime Minister of Canada was formerly the governor of the Bank of England. He does know a lot about economics. Okay. And in the United States federal government, I'm not sure that there's anybody of his equal.
India. No one's talking about India. And India, as you and I both know, have rare earths. Any comment on how India, what they're doing right now?
Well, the Indians do have quite a bit of rare earth available, light rare earths anyway, and they are developing a national rare earth industry. No question. They have mining of heavy mineral sands. They have refining and separation into individual rare earths. They have metal making and battery making, and they certainly are making rare earth permanent magnets. So I believe India will ultimately be an independent rare earth source. And I think the issue for us is that the Indian domestic market is huge. It's, I think, something like 20% of the world's people live in India. It's the largest nation by population of the world. They don't need us for a customer. They're going to take care of themselves.
So we've brought up India. So, quick question for you. If you had a choice for critical mineral reserves in either Greenland or India, which country would you select?
Well, I'd select India because they have an enormous reserve of people, engineers, scientists, and they have a lot of rare earth. India, every time.
Greenland or Brazil?
Brazil has, I don't know, 10 or 20 times as much rare earth as Greenland has, but Brazilian rare earths are accessible. And Brazil is a nation of 200 million people with a diversified manufacturing base. Brazil is currently developing a rare earth industry. It has not done that before. It might take 5 years, might take longer, but Brazil will be, in my opinion, the West's major supplier of rare earths in the next decade.
Which brings me to the next obvious point. Greenland or Africa?
Well, the difference is African rare earth resources are well known, and many of them are even developed or in process of being developed. Africa, I hate to keep using this analogy, Africa has 1 billion people. Greenland, 6,000. Which one would you choose as a future source?
So, all of the members of Trump's administration are telling all of us that we should just listen to what they have to say, that we absolutely need Greenland for their critical minerals. Based on our conversation, based on the experts I'm speaking to, I see no evidence for why we would need Greenland for the critical minerals. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. Obviously, the United States would like to have Greenland for military purposes, so that the other guys, the other side, doesn't get a foothold there. I think that's the entire purpose. All I can say is that I believe the United States has military bases in Greenland since World War II. And I believe we have a treaty with Denmark allowing us to do whatever the hell we want to do in Greenland. So I believe the Greenland critical minerals story is simply a cover-up for the fact that Greenland is considered by the United States federal government as a military necessity for bases without anyone's interference. I thought we already had that kind of treaty with Denmark and with Greenland. I don't understand why the need to talk about critical minerals ever even came up. It's so ridiculous, it's not worth discussing.
Okay, so the last question. Greenland and golf courses. Could that be the reason?
I'm not a golfer, Tracy, but I doubt that golfing on ice is a good idea. Okay. It's so slippery. So I don't think, and by the way, if Greenland were ever going to be a popular tourist destination, wouldn't that already have occurred? I don't know about you. I've been to Greenland because as a young man, I flew to Europe and the plane refueled in Greenland.
On that note, Jack, thank you so much for your update and correcting the myths and giving us the facts straight on critical minerals. Thank you, Jack.
You're welcome, Tracy.